Welcome to the Bully Ball Podcast. It was a crazy week in the NFL. We got a bunch of trades that went down. We got one trade that didn't go down, unfortunately. We got some rumors, though. Free agency about to kick off. We got a bunch of rumors about that. A lot of 49er news this week, just like every other week. So tune in. We're live. We plan on bringing some people in to talk today. Join in, leave a comment once you're in. Let us know who's here, and let's jump right into it.
Yep. Leave a comment, too, if you want to jump in on the video. We could talk a little bit. Alrighty. Like Joseph said, welcome back. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, like, drop a comment. My name's Alex, co-host Joseph. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Got the Lucky Niners koozie for this podcast. Alrighty. Let's jump into the weekly roundup. Yep, there you go.
Old school 49er cup.
Got some of those too. All right. So, weekly roundup. The 49ers signed backup quarterback Nate Sudfeld to a $2 million guaranteed contract that can be up to $3 million. I think that's pretty telling, in my opinion, saying that Jimmy's going to be gone, you know? You don't just guarantee $2 million to anybody, especially if you don't think he's going to play at all. So I think that's pretty telling right there. Another one to touch on, we also signed Jake Brendel, backup center, to a contract as well, 1 year. Not much there, just the backup center for us. So, and then we also signed all of our exclusive rights free agents. So, who are those people? Let me look. Juwan Jennings, I know, was one of them. Joseph's having some troubles with his mic.
My mic? My camera? I don't know what happens,
Your camera. Who are those exclusive rights guys? Juwan Jennings was one.
Juwan Jennings, Jermichael Hasty.
Kevin Givens.
And I think there's one more.
I think that was it for the most part.
Demetrius Flanagan Fowles.
Yep. He got signed, to a 1 year, so that's another one. Not much real Niner news going on, to be honest with you, this week, besides the Washington Commanders trading for Carson Wentz, which was interesting because I thought that was a good landing spot for Jimmy G. But that opens up the Indianapolis Colts as a possible landing spot for Jimmy G. Something to keep your eye on.
Don't forget the NFC West got a lot weaker this week as well.
Yep. All right. I'm going to kick it to you, Joe, and I'll let you kind of go over the NFL news of the week.
All right. So don't mind the blurriness. This camera is something else. I don't know what's wrong with it. But anyways, we got Russell Wilson traded out of the NFC West to the Denver Broncos. People were saying, oh, they got a haul. And I don't know. When you trade a Hall of Fame quarterback for what they got, can you pull that up, Bubba, and see, tell the people what exactly they got in return?
Yep.
Because it was not a haul. I also think that the Carson Wentz to the Commanders trade, now the Colts in that trade got a haul. They got, I believe it was, they swapped second round picks, and then they got an extra second round pick, and they get a third next year that can turn to a second.
Yep.
And they cleared the cap space the Commanders are paying all of Wentz's contract this year, which is nuts. I would have at least asked for half to be paid by the Colts, but it shows what the Commanders think about the guy. I mean, it's unfortunate. We thought it was going to be Jimmy. We're hearing all kinds of rumors. Kirk Cousins might leave now. Deshaun Watson, uh, he's cleared, I guess. I don't know the law point of view of it, but I guess he's going to be traded now after going to trial with the grand jury. Um, who else? You also got Derek Carr rumors now. So a bunch of these quarterbacks that are better than Jimmy are on the market.
And I think go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think the Wentz trade at the time brought up Jimmy's value. You know, I think at the time it did, but then Deshaun Watson coming in kind of murkied up things a little bit. So that's something to keep our eye on, because I think that domino does have to fall first in order for Jimmy to be traded.
I agree.
Pull up this comment real quick. Don't worry, you guys aren't blind or going blind. Joseph's camera was just a little messed up, so don't worry, your eyes are okay.
Hey, and this camera
Hopefully
was like
fixed now.
This camera was like $80. I use it for school whenever I take tests. So the proctor, when I'm taking tests, probably like, dang, this dude cheating on here or something.
And I got my good old laptop camera, and this thing's consistent. Quality's not as good regular running, but it's consistent.
Yeah, we pulled up my regular camera on my computer, last one, and it was not good. So I got to run with this one.
We got a comment from Joseph's wife, Rose. When do you think they will actually trade Jimmy? We kind of touched on this on the last pod, and I'm still holding true to today, apparently. We thought that he was going to be on the roster come the new league year. As of right now, that's what it's looking like, you know. That's what it's looking like. I haven't really heard any rumblings. I heard one rumor that supposedly the Niners received a second-round pick. And if that's true and the Niners have not accepted that yet, John Lynch needs to go. If that's the case, John Lynch needs to go, because they should have hopped on that in a heartbeat. A second-round pick for a guy that just came out of shoulder surgery. You know, take that deal and run with it. That's a robbery.
Yeah, I agree. I personally don't think that rumor's true. You're not getting better value than that, if we're being honest at this point, with the injuries and all these other quarterbacks on the market. You would have took that, you would have ran. We're also, I forgot one other NFL big news thing that happened. Well, there's one rumor, Baker Mayfield might be on the move too. So all these quarterback rumors are crazy, but also Amari Cooper traded to the Browns. I believe it was for a 5th and a 6th round pick.
I think they traded like a 6th and Amari, and then they got a 5th and a 6th. So pretty much just a 5th rounder.
Which he has a big cap hit, obviously, and he's in the last year of his deal. So yeah, they traded him. But that's a confusing one, because if you couldn't do anything with Jarvis and Odell, and now you're trying to release Jarvis and Odell's gone, what's Amari Cooper going to do for you? You know what I mean? But
yeah. So the Russell Wilson trade, the Seahawks received QB Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, as well as 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks and a 5th-round pick. And then Denver got Russell Wilson and a 4th rounder. So, and you know, I saw something too that's like, if you throw in that Jamal Adams trade, like if you brought the two together, technically, you really only got a 1st, a 2nd, and Jamal Adams for Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? Like, no, what do they call him? Brick hands, Blitz boy Jamal Adams. So
Yeah, Blitz boy.
yeah. So that's They didn't
Hey,
get
I'm
much
just
if you're
I'm
looking
just
at it from
happy to
that point
see
of view.
Russell gone, man.
Me too.
Great quarterback. Um, it's like Sherman when he was on the Seahawks. We hated him as a fan base. Great player though. The moment he's gone, you show him the respect.
You know, the Seahawks also released Bobby Wagner, who's a hot name right now for the 49ers. We can jump into that a little bit later, but something to keep your eye on.
Throw up
Pull
this
up
comment right here.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see Jimmy go? Personally, I don't care. Just trade him to whoever gives you the best compensation.
Yes.
I really don't care if he's traded in the conference. I don't care to trade him out. If in the conference you get a better return because they know, like, hey, we got to give up more because we're keeping them in the NFC, take it. I'm taking whatever the best available.
Trade him to the Seahawks. I would love to play Jimmy G twice a year, man. Give me some of those little weak sideline passes and all that stuff. Those reads where you think somebody's wide open and you throw it right to a linebacker or a safety. So trade him to the Seahawks. But like you said, realistically, whatever team gives you the best compensation, take that in a heartbeat and run with it.
And some people were saying that they think the reason he hasn't been traded is because his no trade clause is still in effect until the new league year starts on Wednesday. So if they did get an offer from a team that he didn't want to play for right now, they couldn't take it. I personally just don't think the market's that hot for him right now, but that is a rumor. Could have merit. Who knows?
Yeah. Here's some salary cap info for the Niners. Also re-signed Maurice Hurst to a 1-year deal. So this is a tweet from David Lombardi. It's a veteran salary exception. So it has a 1.035 base salary, which is the vet minimum, a $102.5 thousand signing bonus, a $50,000 workout bonus, which ultimately adds up to a 1.0475 salary cap hit for this year. Which is a good deal. If that guy can get healthy, he can be a difference maker. But he has to be healthy. That's the biggest issue with him.
I think a good thing to note is if you've been watching the past couple weeks, we've said D tackle is going to be one of the massive holes on the roster this year with all the free agents, and they've re-signed 2 of the guys already. So that hole is already kind of clearing up a little bit.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull up a tweet.
I also heard that Jawan Jennings hasn't signed his tender yet. I don't know if that's true or not. I believe he has to sign it or he will sit out for the year. But it's interesting because they could be looking to sign him to a couple-year extension or something like that.
Yeah.
Great player. If you could sign him to a multi-year deal for cheap now, I would do it. But I don't know what the actual deal is on that.
Yeah, I agree. He came up big at the end of the year. So I would definitely, like you said, look into signing him long term if you can. I don't think you'd have to pay too much, but still, I would lock him up.
Yeah.
ASAP if you could.
Comment. I didn't realize that Wednesday starts that. Good to know. Hopefully next week comes with good news. Yes. So tomorrow, Monday, is when you can actually begin negotiating with free agents. So you're going to see deals come up like, oh, so-and-so agreed to a 4-year whatever deal with this team. That can happen tomorrow, but it won't be official until Wednesday. That's when they can actually sign the contract. Same thing for trades that need to happen after the new year starts. You'll see them can't actually happen until Wednesday.
Yep. All right. I'm going to play this video. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, though. So this is from the SF Niners. It's a video about Trent Williams. He was on a podcast, I Am Athlete. And I don't know. It's just interesting to me. Just watch the way Trent Williams reacts from it. Let me see if you guys will be able to hear it. Give me one sec. All right. You guys see that?
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome aboard the Disney Bundle.
Can you hear it?
We're Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is I Am Athlete, Trent Williams. Watch it. Let me know what you think.
Ain't football season, but we can't start off without talking about the best left tackle in the game.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's the best way to start it off.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah. And a little birdie told me, a little source told me he wanted to transition to a contender. That's what the birdie told me.
Ooh,
So
that's messy out the gate.
I ain't getting messy. I'm just telling facts and speaking truths.
All right.
Well,
and listen, bro, you know we always like to keep it real. I mean, like, who's the birdie?
Huh?
Give us your source.
I ain't gonna give him a source because I'm not Adam Schefter. I'm just saying he wants to go to a contender. You know, and there's a team that I know that I've been associated with for years that could really use a left tackle.
So you saying
I'm saying he could
Big
be
bro.
blocking for Joe Mixon next year. That's what I'm saying.
how you feel about that?
I'm under contract, man.
You under who?
I'm under
What's
contract.
that?
There you go.
They
There you
can
know
go.
cut-
that
they
is.
can- they can cut us when they
There
want
you
to.
go.
The contract really don't mean
Yeah.
nothing.
Don't do it. Don't
If they
fall
cut
for
me,
it.
if they cut me, I'm available. But
I
Don't
know
fall
people.
for They it. ain't cut- You was just rated not only the
I know
best
people.
tackle, but the best.
The best tackle.
He was
best.
rated the best player. in the Player, game. number
Players.
one.
Yeah.
Broke
Huh?
a record.
Statistics.
Yeah.
Pro Football Focus.
Right.
And they're not even paying me to mention them. Huh?
So that was pretty much the video. I thought it was interesting his reaction because he didn't really say like, "Oh no, like no, I'm with the Niners for sure." You know, he said, "Oh, I'm under contract," and that was it. Obviously, I think Ocho Cinco is just talking out of his ass, really. But still, I thought it was interesting the way Trent reacted to that. He kind of laughed a little bit, put his head down, you know, like, "Oh, I don't know." I thought that was interesting.
I think he probably wasn't expecting it, so he's like, whatever. But how are you going to say, oh, he wants to play for a contender? The
Yeah.
49ers, basically same spot as the Bengals. Beat the Bengals in the regular season too. Maybe the only thing you could take from that is maybe if Trent did say that, is that he doesn't believe in trade, but I don't think he said that. I think
Yeah.
Ocho Cinco just being dumb.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting just looking at it from a body positioning, you know. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, but I don't think there's much to it. Anything else you want to touch on about the weekly roundup?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
The interesting one was the Nate Sudfeld contract guaranteeing him that much money. They said, oh, 2 other teams were in the running for him, and they think he can be a starter in the league. That's kind of interesting. Interesting to keep a guy. I know the 49ers liked him because they brought him up to they elevated him in the playoffs so he could get like a bigger paycheck or whatever. But interesting because is a totally different style of quarterback than Trey to keep as like your backup. And I mean, who knows? Maybe he progressed this year. But I remember someone saying, and then I remembered as well, the one game he started for the Eagles, or maybe he came in like it was garbage time or whatever, I don't know. They thought the coach was throwing the game. That's how bad that game was. So I don't know how I feel about that being your sole backup, but with how much they paid him, that's your sole backup. So maybe they'll bring in a rookie to compete or something, but we'll see. Who knows?
Well, Trey Lance commented too after the season, that he really liked Sudfeld, that he was like a good mentor for him. And I think it's more of a position that Shanahan likes to have a veteran guy in there, even if he is a different play style. He knows that he knows the playbook. He's been in the league for a while, so he can give good advice to Trey, like, oh, when they go to the sidelines, they pull up the iPads, he can be like, look at this. You missed this. Instead of looking here, look there, something like that. So I think it was just more of like a mentor type signing. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The Brendel signing, the backup center, it's an interesting one. 49ers won't look to bring in a center, I would think, this year in the draft now, because if Mack's back, you have the same two centers. Good to have the continuity. You also got to remember Trey was the backup last year, so him and Brendel was probably his center throughout the whole season. So that'll be good to have that continuity that you don't really think about with him.
And I think another thing to note was something is going to happen soon. So keep your phones ready because, either Jimmy's going to get traded before Wednesday or Monday, would it be? Or the Niners are going to have to restructure people or extend people some way to manipulate the cap because we're over $9.5 million over the cap right now. So we have to get under by Wednesday.
And
so keep your phones on. Something's going to happen soon, whether it be a trade or whether it be restructures or extensions or even possible cuts. Other trades, maybe a Dre Greenlaw trade if we want to get Bobby Wagner in there or Aziz trade, something like that, So
yeah,
just be ready for some news.
And it'll be interesting because you're going to start negotiating contracts tomorrow, but you don't have money. So
Yeah.
they gotta do something. They might be keeping it under wraps. They could have these deals in place, but maybe they just aren't saying it like all these other teams right now. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I know everybody wants these huge name dudes like J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore. I've seen Juju Smith, stuff like that. It would be great. I would love them. Trust me. We don't got no money. Yeah, we don't got money. I mean,
as it stands right now, we don't have money.
The thing is if they can sign these dudes, like these older dudes like Chandler Jones or maybe Wagner, they could sign them to like an incentive-laden contract like what they did with Sherm. You could still get them, but getting J.C. Jackson on a huge long contract, you would probably have to get rid of one of your huge long contracts on the team. So it could happen. Not realistic, but some crazy stuff could happen.
And Chandler Jones recently said too that like money isn't the biggest concern for me because he said I've gotten paid. I've won. Now I want to win more championships. And maybe he could come to the Bay, gets to play the Cardinals twice a year. Something to watch. He said the scheme really matters to him and like bringing out his best abilities. And Chris Korchak, whatever our defensive lines coach name, Kasarik, yeah. He's known for bringing out the best in people. Example, Arden Key last year.
Kerry
Who was the
Hyder
guy that went to
the
this?
year before.
Kerry Hyder, year before. Yep, beast. These dudes like were nothing before they got to the 49ers, and then look, he'd turn them into 5, 6, 7, 8 sack people a year. So something to keep your eye on. I think he's the most realistic player out of like the Chandler Jones, J.C. Jacksons, Bobby Wagners, those type of dudes. I think Chandler Jones is the most realistic to come to the Bay.
And if one key thing to watch, a cut that we might not be expecting, Samson Ebukam. If they cut him, they save, I believe, between 6 and 8 million this year. So if they're looking to sign a bigger name to like a 1-year deal, that could be one of the cap casualties to create some of that space for somebody. I personally would love to keep him, but if they do cut him, it's probably because of how big that cap hit is. So just expect that. And then if they really are interested in Bobby Wagner, one of Dre Greenlaw or Aziz Al-Shire are on the move. So
well, the 49ers still have to decide what they're going to do with Aziz Al-Shire because they haven't put a tender on him yet. A second-round tender, third-round tender. They haven't done anything, so something's going to have to happen with that too.
They really can't right now, though. If you put a second-round tender on the guy, that's a $4 million cap hit automatically. You don't got the money. I would have done it though.
They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to put something on him. But you can easily manipulate the cap, and these moves don't have to be announced until Wednesday. Like they can wait last minute and announce. Eric Armstead got his contract restructured. Trent Williams got his contract restructured, and those moves you see other teams doing them for like Marshawn Lattimore for the New Orleans Saints, I believe, and they saved like $19 million just with that one move of restructuring his contract. So the Niners can manipulate the cap and save a lot of money fast, but they're probably just not announcing it yet.
Yeah, and what he's saying with the Saints, so the Saints were like, I believe like 75 million over the cap. And they have restructured they've restructured and cut probably like about 10 players. And now they're like, I think like 5 or 10 million over the cap at the moment. So it's possible. You look at the Rams, they do this every year. They have I don't understand how, but they have all these huge contracts on that team and they somehow slip it in, make it work. It's just and we have good cap people. What's his name? Parag
Marate.
Yeah, he's a great cap guy, so don't worry too much about the number. It's going to get down. They're going to figure it out.
Breaking news. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler believes that the Chiefs will either release or trade Frank Clark because of his $26 million cap hit. Hopefully y'all didn't think that Jimmy got traded because that's not the breaking news I was talking about. Fowler expects that the 49ers will be interested in a landing spot for Clark. Last time we got a Chiefs edge. Well, yeah, not trade. He has to get cut if the Niners are going to be interested. But last time we got a Chiefs edge rusher, didn't turn out so well. Did not turn out so well. You know what I'm talking about.
And if he had, what did you say, a 26 million cap hit?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to expect like 20 million or something. No, thank you.
The person I was talking about the Niners got before was obviously D Ford.
Yep, and D Ford might still be on the team this year. Just warning you now. If they're going to cut him, it's going to be post July 1, I believe. And they could save $7 million.
I think it's June, right? June 1?
Or it might be June, yeah. They might keep him. So just be aware.
Yeah. I'd probably keep him because post June 1, unless you're going to use that money to re-sign like Bosa and Debo, you can't use it for free agency because all the free agents that you're going to want are going to be gone by that point. So might as well just try to keep him, hope that he's healthy, and let's see what rolls out after that. If he gets hurt, then cut him, let him go.
All right. So our dad said, "What do you think about the new QB coach?" I spoke to our dad the other day, so I'm gonna see if he's gonna want to come on because he actually watched the guy play. So I'm gonna send him the link. See if we could get him to come
The
on.
new 49ers coach. Did we touch on this on the last pod? I think we did, right?
On Brian Greasy?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We did not
Yeah, we
speak
did.
on
We did touch on it.
did not speak on the completed coaching staff. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but let's see if we could get him on. See if he could talk about Brian Greasy when he played, because I don't know. I wasn't watching or something when that was going on.
So while we're trying to get him on, before that, some background on Brian Greasy. He did play in the NFL with the Denver Broncos. He took over for John Elway, and I believe in like his second or third year after taking over, he ended up making it to a Pro Bowl. So he did okay. He did all right. But besides that, he didn't have a great career or anything. The last few years, he's been in the commentator booth, talking over games. So he's still involved in football at somewhat of a decent level. When he was with the Broncos, he was under Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's brother, or not brother, his dad. So, he's still involved. It's not like he's been away from football and just been watching it as a fan. He's been watching it as a commentator, seeing the evolution in college football of these quarterbacks and everything. I mean, we said it last pod, and I'll say it again. I think it's a good hire. You got to take those chances. There's only so many people you can bring up and promote internally. So I like it.
I remember watching a clip too when Lamar Jackson was coming up. He was one of the few people that was high on Lamar, because remember, everyone's like, he's a wide receiver, he's a running back.
Yep.
Brian Greasy was one of the guys that supported Lamar being a quarterback. So I'm not saying Trey is Lamar, they're way different, but I'm saying he supports the athletic quarterback. So that's a good thing. There's going to be some QB coaches in the league that they've been around pocket passers their whole life. They don't want anything to do or to teach an athletic dude how to play quarterback. So something to keep in mind.
Yep. Is the old man coming on or what?
He looked at the link I sent him. I don't know what's going on, but while we wait for him, I have this article from the 49ers on the completed coaching staff that I'll speak on, just so we have a little background of all the coaches that are coming in. So the coaches on the team, let's see the important ones. So we have Stefan Adagoki, defensive quality control coach. He's 30 years old, joins the 49ers after spending last season as a defensive grad assistant at University of Michigan. Before that, he was at Florida. He played 3 years at Mississippi State prior to that. That's all I got on him. We have James Craig, assistant O-line coach. He is 48 years old. He was at LSU for the past 3 years as their O-line coach. He spent 4 years prior to that with the Chargers and the Broncos. And prior to that, he was at USC as the O-line coach. So that dude, he's been coaching O-line for a long time. He was with the Raiders back in 2008, University of Idaho before. He's been coaching since 97, the year I was born.
Jeez.
So
yeah.
He's been an O-line coach for a long time, and before that, he played O-line in college.
Okay.
We have Graves, first name John Graves. He's our other assistant O-line coach they brought in. O-line coach? Yeah, it says assistant O-line, but he's 28 years old. He was Georgia Southern University running back coach last year. He spent 2 years prior to that at University of Louisiana Monroe, which is where Elijah Mitchell's from, right?
Louisiana Monroe. I'm not sure.
I believe
I know it was a
so.
Louisiana school, a smaller one.
Yeah, I believe so, but I could be wrong. Prior to that, he was Southeastern Louisiana running back coach. He was an O-lineman for 4 years before that, so I don't know how he became a running back coach, but they brought him in. Then we have Greasy. He has been in the booth talking college football, NFL since 2009. Prior to that, he was quarterback of Michigan, and he led them to an undefeated record and a share of the national championship as a senior in 97. Drafted by the Broncos in the 3rd round of the 98 draft, and he had an 11-year NFL career with Denver, the Dolphins, the Bucks, and the Bears. So he's been around a lot of organizations. He appeared in 93 games with 83 starts. And he was a part of the Denver team that won the Super Bowl. So keep that in mind. And then we have Anthony Lynn. We've touched on him. Great coach, as long as he's not your only head coach. Yeah, I don't think I need to dive in on him. And then we have Schneider. He's 50. I believe he is the special teams coach, correct?
From the Seahawks and Jags.
Yeah, he has 12 years of experience as a special team coordinator. From 2010 to 20, he was the Seahawks special teams guy. Before that, the USC special teams coach, and the Raiders prior to that. So he's been around football a long time. I've heard that the Seahawks weren't great on special teams when he was around, but who knows? I mean, you can't be much worse than what's his name?
Yeah, I mean they signed him they saw something in him, so
Yeah.
ready.
And then we got what's this guy's name?
Real quick, Eli Mitchell played for Louisiana at Lafayette. So not Louisiana Monroe.
Okay. And then we got Nick Sorensen, 43 years old. He was the special team coordinators of the Jaguars last year. Prior to that, he was with the Seahawks. So him and the other guy were together for most of their careers. And he played for St. Louis, the Jags, and the Browns in 10 seasons together. And he's another coach that we brought in. We brought in Clint Kubiak as, I believe, the assistant QB coach, right? His brother, dad was, I forget what his name was, but I'm pretty sure he was a head coach of the Texans or something. So
yeah, he was the head coach at the Texans. Then he also coached, I think it was a defensive coordinator for the Broncos when Mike Shanahan was the head coach over there. So there's a lot of chemistry between the Shanahan and Kubiak family. So that's probably what was going on there.
So those are all the big ones. You got a lot of continuity, a lot of quality coaches that came in and are getting upgraded to higher positions, but they're bringing in a lot of experience. Even if it isn't in coaching, it's in playing or in the booth. So that's good. But now we got our dad on. Talk a little bit about Brian Greasy and his time playing. Let's see.
Good morning, boys. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Doing good.
So, like you said before, you reached out a little bit about him. I didn't watch him a bunch. I was still young at the time, not that old. But I think bringing somebody like that to the team could really help these guys. You know, it's a broadcaster. He's real knowledgeable about football, quarterbacks. He did get a Super Bowl ring, but I think got it when he was a backup to Elway. He was on the team, so it's one of those rings like Jimmy G has. He was in the Pro Bowl. He was an NFL passer leader in 2000. He was a Rose Bowl MVP when he was in college. A national champion, Big Ten champion, first team, Big All 10, Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. He has a little bit of good stuff behind him, but I like that they brought him in because I like people like that, even though this is his first time coaching. You know, it's almost like Lynch. You know, when you have somebody that has a lot of knowledge about it and that they played, I think that really helps them out. You know, just because you were a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. But somebody like that has the knowledge all around and's been around it that long, I think he has a lot to bring to the table for us, especially with the young quarterback.
I think it's interesting too. I just thought about it now. A lot of the Niners hires that we've been doing lately have been former players. You know, look at our wide receivers coach, Leonard Hankerson, he played in the NFL for a few years under Shanahan. Anthony Lynn, the running backs coach, assistant head coach, played for Shanahan as well, previous running back. Greasy played in the NFL as well. D'Amico Ryans, defensive coordinator, played in the NFL, you know. So I think it's good to have former players in there because they kind of relate to the players now and what they're going through, you know. Like, these coaches know the grind of the season. They know how their bodies felt. They know, like, they just know the experiences that these players are going through. And I think that's big when you have leaders that can relate to what your, like, superiors are going through. So I think I like that we're hiring these former players.
Because wasn't it Wes Welker? Wasn't that our receiver coach that Miami took, or where did he go?
Yeah, Miami.
I think it is good because I like the guys that have been in the trenches because they know. Because if you've never done it, I still think even if you've never done something, you could be a great coach at it. But the ones that have lived through it and they've been through it, those I think could be some of the best coaches because they know how it feels. They know like all the emotions that go through it, and they know how hard it really is.
Yeah.
I think the Greasy one was good too because you had Jimmy. He's been behind Tom, 2 Super Bowl rings. So he's been there. Trey got to see how he prepared for a full season. Now he's gone, and now Trey's in charge. So you kind of bring in Greasy as like a backup in a sense, who has been and won a Super Bowl as a backup. So he can kind of guide Trey in the way of like, this is how you got to do it. Maybe he doesn't know the most on like teaching him the fundamentals or whatever, but he can help him prepare as a starting quarterback because he's seen a starting quarterback prepare and lead a team to a Super Bowl. So
and Greasy kind of went through a similar thing that Trey's going through now, you know. Not saying that Jimmy G's anything close to John Elway, but Greasy did take over after Elway, who was pretty successful with the Broncos. Jimmy G, pretty successful for the Niners, you know, coming off a couple NFC championship games, a Super Bowl loss. So they're also relatable in that way too, you know.
And you figure too, Greasy, when he was playing at the time, I believe, because wasn't it Elway? I could be wrong, but I think it was Elway that when he got drafted, he wasn't going to play for the team he got drafted for. Wasn't that him? Like, I think the Chargers or somebody, and he fought it and said, well, I won't go play.
I think that was Drew Brees. It might have been Elway too. I don't know.
I could be wrong. But you figure in those days too, you know, that was a different kind of football. So you figure he's seen that kind of football than being under the other Shanahan too, that's always good because it's a big window. You're not just locked in on one type of playing style. And that's what we need. Like our backup's a different style. Trey's going to be our new style. It's good to have that big window. And then under our Shanny, that's a big window that could really help us.
Yeah. All righty. Thanks for jumping on, giving us your opinion.
Thank you.
First live guest there, everybody.
One more question before you go. What is the least trade value you would take for Jimmy?
I'd take anything at this point because I think if we don't end up getting rid of him, we're just going to have to cut him. And then we're going to lose that, what is it, $7 million or something?
Yeah, I was going to say we'll probably lose money with an injury guarantee as well. So
I'd take a third, fourth, and hopefully even a fifth, and hopefully we get a diamond in the rough. Get something because we're going to lose anyways. And I think it's time to move on. That way Trey could have the confidence. Yeah, he still needs the battle in camp, but all the Jimmy talk and all the talk about, this and that could happen. Let the young man start, getting it right in his head. It's a new era. I'm excited for it.
Yep.
All right.
Like
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for jumping on. All righty. Let's so our podcast isn't like an hour and a half long. Let's jump into some of these free agents. This little free agency preview. Do you wanna lead it, or do you want me to take the lead on a couple of them?
So I'll pull up the article I have on here of the top free agents by position. And I'll just show it and you can speak on it. All right, is it full screen? You can see it?
Yep.
All right. We'll skip quarterbacks because we're probably not going to look there. Your wide receiver market.
Realistically, I like Juju if you can get him on the right amount of money. He's a great blocker. I think he would thrive as a third receiver. It was when he had to be the man. He had to be the number one receiver of the team is when he struggled really with it. But I think as a third behind Debo, challenge Ayuk, I think he would thrive with that. Great blocker. I would like Juju if you can get him on a right amount of money.
I would also say the wide receiver market dried up pretty quick. Some of these dudes are going to get overpaid, and the draft is loaded. Receivers are so much better coming out of college these days that overpaying for a free agent receiver isn't it at this point. So it would have to be a great deal for me to pick up any free agent wide receiver.
Yeah. I think scroll up a little bit on back to the receivers. I think a couple of guys just to maybe throw out some names possibly that we could look into. Will Fuller, bigger receiver, he can stretch the field for the Dolphins. John Ross, I would be interested in signing him because you could probably get him for really cheap. And, the Niners have been interested in those small, speedy receivers. Travis Benjamin, Tavon Austin. There's another guy, too, that we brought in that was a small, speedy guy. And, John Ross was the fastest player to ever run in the NFL Combine at a 4.22. So I would be interested in signing him.
Weren't you the guy that said availability is your best ability?
Yes.
That dude ain't available.
But you don't have to sign him. You don't have to depend on him. You sign him cheap.
I know.
You sign him cheap. You don't got to depend on him. I mean, who knows? It could take off big time for you.
Your running backs?
Cordell Patterson obviously is there. Somebody need to know. I have some stats from his last year. Dual threat, kind of like they used him like a Debo Samuel. So Cordell Patterson he's 30 years old, 618 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. So then he had 548 and 5 receiving touchdowns. So that's somebody Could you imagine Debo Samuel and Cordell Patterson in the same backfield? Like,
Yeah, you
that'd be killer.
you could come out split wide and just bring either of them back into the backfield, or you could have one in the backfield and split them wide. The defense is not going to know what is
jet
happening any
sweeps,
play.
anything.
Yeah,
Yep.
it would be nuts.
Obviously, Raheem, we spoke about it last podcast. You know, his speed is just something else. I think it's going to be really hard to bring him back, though, especially with Miami needing a running back, and Mike McDaniels
Also, the
will
Jets.
be
Don't sleep
overpaid.
on the Jets.
Yeah. Anybody else to
JD McKissick is a great third down back. And I said if Raheem leaves, we need a third down back that's better than Hasty. JD McKissick would be a great upgrade. Probably cheap, I don't know.
McKinnon, you see Eric
Yeah,
McKinnon, he ended up playing really well for the Chiefs at the end of the year, especially in the playoffs. So
I'm happy for the guy. I'm happy for the guy.
I would pass. Like we said, availability is the best ability. I don't want him back on the team.
Tight ends, you know, the 49ers every single year have looked to upgrade the backup tight end position. So
I see a lot of rumors or like a lot of people talking about Robert Tonyan for the Green Bay Packers. I don't know too much about him. He didn't really produce well, so
I think he's fresh off an ACL.
Yeah, I mean, Mo Alley Cox is a big receiver for the Colts. He's pretty good in the red zone. You know, I think if you're signing a tight end, it's just like a backup. So
I've heard a lot of people mentioning Evan Ingram because he's a pretty good receiving threat. You'd have to get him cheap for me to be interested, though. He's always injured.
Blake Bell down there for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a previous Niner. Didn't do much for us, but previous Niner. I just got a notification from Bleacher Report saying that the Colts are targeting veteran quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota is gaining the most buzz as Indy's answer at quarterback. Kirk Cousins also an option if available. What happened to Jimmy G? They were the ones that were hot on his tail, supposedly, and then now they're just moving off of him, it looks like. So
I'm telling you, I think the market is a lot drier than we thought.
Yeah, maybe the Niners talked up a big game, but really now nothing's coming through. That's it's kind of alarming in my opinion.
Yep. Let's move to O-line.
O-line. These are my guys right here. I got Lakin. Obviously, we touched on him last pod. I would love to bring him back, but it just depends on how much he wants. The Jets, the Dolphins, a lot of teams will want Lakin Tomlinson. He's one of the better guards. So, another guy I like is Alex Kappa, guard for the Tampa Bucks. He is a local product from Dublin, California. Played at Humboldt State, 3-year starter, Super Bowl winner. You know, I would be interested in signing him for a decent deal. That's somebody who I'm definitely interested in. Let's see.
I like Austin
also,
Corbett as
Mark
well.
Glowinski for the Colts. I don't know if he was on that list, but this is somebody who I have. He could challenge Aaron Banks, so that's something to look at. You know, he could get like he got his first Pro Bowl this last year, so he could be looking for a decent deal, but something to keep your eye on. I know you highlighted Austin Corbett. You want to touch on him?
You're still in from another team in the division. That's always good. I don't have any stats or anything on him, but I've heard he's a decent player. Going to be a lot cheaper than Lakin. So a couple of these dudes, if Lakin does leave, you can pay a couple of these dudes a little less. And you're not going to get the same production, but hopefully you could get similar.
I really like Alex Kappa if Lakin leaves. Roger Saffold for the Titans, older player, just got released. You could probably get him on a 6 to 8 year, $6 to $8 million a year deal. So that's somebody to keep your eye on as well. Go ahead, move on.
Yeah, a lot of good guards were cut, so that'll hopefully help us out a little bit.
Yep.
Interior D line, look at number
Go
one.
ahead. You can take on these ones.
DJ Jones, number one. You know, I think the dude's gonna get paid. I think he's leaving us. You might be able to bring in Calais Campbell because he's so old. He might just be ring chasing on like a 1-year deal. Jaron Reed's a pretty good run stuffer. You know, I'm not really too high on this interior D line free agent class. I would rather.
What about Solomon Thomas?
Solomon did flash at the beginning of the year for the Raiders. I was pretty impressed, but he got injured again. I wouldn't look to bring him back if I'm being honest with you. I feel like the 49ers did a good job re-signing their interior guys. I would try to bring back Street. He's a restricted free agent. And then I would go to the draft to address maybe one more interior guy.
Yeah, you know, I'm not DJ Jones. I think I would rather have Lake and Tomlinson at this point over DJ Jones because you do still have Kinlaw. I mean, like we said, availability is the best ability. Kinlaw has been hurt and has injury history, but if Kinlaw can be healthy and you can get some decent rotational pieces in there that can fill in so Kinlaw doesn't have to bear the whole load, I think you can let DJ Jones walk. Obviously, it's a big loss, but hope that Kinlaw hits his ceiling that the Niners expect out of him. And if he can get at least 75, 80% of that ceiling, I think he'd be fine.
One other thing to note, too, is DJ Jones is hurt a lot. He leaves almost you see him leave the field a lot with injuries. So, you know, a lot of players break out and then go back. You know, I love the dude. I'm just saying he does get injured a lot as well. Something to keep in mind. All right, edge class. Go ahead.
We touched on Chandler Jones, obviously. That would be my number one priority. If you can get him for a decent deal, obviously you won't be able to overpay for him. Not going off the list, I have some guys myself that I pulled up that I thought were interesting. You know, we talked about the defensive line coach earlier. Joe, what was his name?
Chris Kasarik.
Chris Kasarik. Chris Kasarik is known for bringing out the best in people, like we said. Arden Key, who's a free agent as well. He's probably going to want to get paid, so I wouldn't bring him back because he's probably going to want way too much. So some of these guys I'm going to name, pretty much all of them were like first-round picks that didn't pan out with their current teams. But I think you get with Chris Kasarik, and I think he can really bring out the best in these players. So my first one was Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas. He had 5 sacks last year. He's 24 years old, 6'4", 255. You know, with that size, he can kick inside and do what Key did this year. You know, rush from the inside on situational downs, rush from the outside if need be. 5 sacks, still really young, you know. Get with Kasarik, who can bring out the best in you, and I think he would thrive. Probably get him somewhat cheap, too. Another guy, Uchenna Nwosu from the Chargers. He had 9.5 sacks in the last 2 years, 5 coming from last year, 67 pressures from the last 2 years. He's 6'2", 251, same thing. Early pick, didn't really pan out, can kick inside if need be. And then these last 2 guys, Kamiko Toure for the Colts. He's 6'5", 248. And Taco Charlton, who's been a bunch of different teams. He's 6'6", 270. Charlton, you could get him like really cheap, vet minimum, I bet. Because he only had a half sack last year. Toure had 5.5 sacks last year. They were early first-round picks for their teams. Kasarik. I'm betting on Kasarik to bring out the best. The last 2 years he had Hyder, he had Key, and then this year one of these dudes could possibly be that next guy, to make that big jump.
And don't forget, we got Amenahu, who's going to be in his second season with the team. Expect a breakout from the guy.
Yep. He played really good this year as well. Who are some guys that you want to touch on?
Edge guys, you guys know I've said it every week. I think you bring back Jordan Willis. You have Amenahu. I think one of them two is going to break out. You still have Ebukam. You may need a speed guy, and that's it for me. I like the guys you touched on. Arden Key said he would love to be back, but the money's got to be right. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, you want Chandler Jones. Someone's going to pay him like a 1 year, 20 mil probably, or he might get a huge deal. Who knows?
Another guy to touch on is Justin Houston for the Ravens. He's an older dude. You get him on a year, but he's a pure speed rusher, You can bring him in and have him actually play that D forward role, and he would actually produce very well. He's older, but he can produce.
It's a good one.
He had 8 sacks in 2020, 4.5 last year, so decent production for an older guy. You could probably get pretty cheap.
Yep. All right, let's move to linebackers. Not much to touch on here, but obviously everyone wants Bobby Wagner. I would love to have him. We've already said the 49ers are going to need to move one of their young linebackers. If they bring in Bobby Wagner, that's a definite. He would have to take an incentive-laden deal with us, probably a 1 year, maybe 2 year deal. But just imagine Bobby Wagner and Fred Warner. That's nasty. It would be nasty. Other than that, not much to touch on at linebacker because we are set there. So we'll move past that.
Let me pause real quick.
Go ahead.
Tweet from Ian Rappaport. The Saints and Panthers have made offers for Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson and are likely to meet with him soon. Sources tell him and Tom Pelissero. Other teams are also involved. Watson has a no-trade clause and wants to meet with teams before formally waiving it anywhere. So that's good news. Possibly Deshaun Watson can be moving soon, which can subsequently begin a Jimmy G trade.
Saints must be offering expensive players.
Yeah.
Try to get under that cap.
The legal tamper period is 24 hours out too, so free agency deals will be going down tomorrow.
All right, we're moving to DBs. This is the interesting one. We all want J.C. Jackson. The dude's going to get a huge deal. Great player. Same with Tyrann Mathieu. He's an older dude. He's probably looking to win another ring. I'm pretty sure Casey has said they're not bringing him back.
Yeah.
If Tart leaves, you would love Tyrann, but I think he's going to get paid too much. A bunch of these dudes up here are going to get paid what we can't afford. We would love Gilmore. He does have some injury concerns, but he's a lockdown.
Carlton Davis, too, is a good guy.
Yeah, Carlton Davis. I would love Darius Williams, but these dudes, all these top dudes, going to get paid. Dante Jackson's an interesting one. He can play in the slot and outside. He's a little undersized. Pretty good player.
Casey Hayward, we talked about him last pod. He's an older guy. You could bring him in. He had a really good season last year.
DJ Reed.
Challenge.
Man, I love DJ Reed on the 49ers. He grew a lot this year on the Seahawks. He's a short dude. He could play in the slot. He played outside corner for them. He probably is going to get paid a lot more than people are thinking. He was a great corner this year. Tart, we know about Tart. I think I wrote down Terrell
I'm a big
Edmonds.
advocate of Tart, obviously, as you guys know from listening to the pods before.
If Tart leaves, a guy to replace him that would be pretty cheap, I think, is Terrell Edmonds, safety from Pittsburgh. He's a strong safety, bigger guy. He's a pretty good player. I think you could get him pretty cheap. Another guy, a corner. I don't think he's on this list. Isaiah Oliver from Atlanta, pretty decent player. Could bring him in a backup role pretty cheap. Another guy, is he on this list? No, Justin Reed, pretty good safety from Houston. If Tart does leave, I would look to bring in. And
Former 49er Eric Reed's brother, Justin Reed.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. And then a guy that the 49ers have been said to be interested in is Charvarius Ward, corner from the Chiefs. Supposedly he's a pretty good player. You could get him pretty cheap. I would definitely look at bringing that guy in.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything from you on the corners or safeties?
I don't really have too much on those guys. I do have one safety. Let me pull him up real quick. J-Ron Curse from the Cowboys, safety. If Tart leaves, you can bring this guy in. He had full-time starter last year in his one year. Produced 101 tackles and 5 forced fumbles. So, it's pretty good production. Somebody to keep your eye on, maybe. So later. Probably like a wave 2 or wave 3 pickup.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good pickup. A couple of guys that weren't on these lists at all that I would be interested in. I'm going to close out this list. We could take this off. All right. A couple dudes that interest me that weren't on this list. One guy the 49ers were said to be interested in is Ray Macleod. He's mostly a special teams guy. He was a top punt returner last year in the league. Could be an interesting pickup. Another guy, if Raheem Mostert does leave, Tariq Cohen was just cut by the Bears. I think it was yesterday. He still is dealing with his injury, but if he gets healthy, he's a great third down back. One thing I've said we needed on this team last year.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the week when he got released. Yep, that's something that I would definitely be interested in bringing in.
You could get him dirt cheap, and if he's healthy, he would bring a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah, his return ability as well. So,
hey, another dude, this dude, I hated on him. We all hated on him at one point. Eric Crocker stayed high on him all the way through. Akello Weatherspoon, man. Dude played great for the Steelers this year. I don't know how much he's going to cost. Steelers should probably bring him back. He probably don't want to come back to the 49ers, man. They mistreated him. But if he was open, I would look at bringing him back. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think they played a little bit more man coverage in Pittsburgh, so maybe that's why he played so well. Maybe he's more of like a man guy than a zone dude. But yeah, if you can get him back cheap, like you said though, I think that bridge is burned.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Let's finish off with free agency. Who is one dude? Let's say who is the one dude if you could bring in anyone? Salary cap doesn't matter. Who would that be? And who is one dude realistically that you would bring in?
We talked about this. You talked about this earlier in the week. We were texting about it. I would bring in Chandler Jones. The Niners have always been a rush over secondary team. They want the rush to be strong over the secondary. And I think if you have Bosa, Chandler Jones, Eric Armstead, Kinlaw, whoever else is that, the 3 tech coming in, rushing that quarterback, you can make Ambry Thomas, Emmanuel Mosley, Jimmy Ward, and whoever the other strong safety is, you can make those guys look all pro just because of that pass rush. That pass rush would be lethal. It'd be like Khalil Mack, how he got traded to the Chargers, him and Joey Bosa. Nick
Oh,
Bosa
yeah.
and Chandler Jones would be lethal. That would be an insane. Like, if you can bring that in, you have to. That's my number one priority. If
That's
salary
one
cap's
news.
not a problem.
That's the one news thing we forgot to mention. Khalil Mack traded to the Chargers. Crazy. That we play them this year. The pass rush
And
is
we
going to be
also play
on us.
Russell Wilson as well. So he didn't get away all the way. We're still playing his ass.
Yes. So it's good. We have a tough schedule this year. Be prepared. My unrealistic guy is going to be J.C. Jackson, because the 49ers have always prioritized the rush. Give some attention to the DBs, man. The reason also I pick him over Chandler Jones or like Bobby Wagner is because J.C. Jackson's 26. You could have the dude be a great number one corner for 5-6 years. So I would pick him. Who's your realistic guy?
One of the reasons why I didn't say J.C. Jackson as well is Eric Crocker. He made a good point in one of his podcasts. He said corners are bound to get burnt in this league. The way the rules are, corners are going to get burnt no matter what. Look at Jalen Ramsey in the Super Bowl. That dude got torched, toasted. You know, pass rushers are pass rushers. They're going to get to the ball. They're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to bail out your secondary. So that's why I would go Chandler Jones. One of my realistic guys. So are we talking external or internal free agents, or both?
We're just talking external, not internal.
External. Okay. So let's say Laken Tomlinson walks. I would probably say Alex Kappa. I think he'd be able to fill in that guard spot real easy. You could play. Let's say you throw Kappa at right guard and then give Aaron Banks that shot at left guard. I would be interested in that. Let Aaron Banks get back to his original position and then see how it goes from there. What about you?
That's a good one. I would have said something similar. So since you said that, I'll go with one of either Dante Jackson or DJ Reed. Bring in a guy that can play in the slot, because I believe Kwan's going to be walking. And in this day and age, your slot corner is probably more important than your outside corners, because every single team is looking to get their best wide receiver on the mismatch in the slot. You saw Cooper Kupp, that dude worked. He put in work in the slot.
And we play him twice a year.
Every single team's moving their best wide receiver into the slot to get the mismatch. So I'd look to bring in a good guy. You know, we can't pay crazy, but there's a lot of pretty good slot corners you could bring in. And you need some speed. You need some speed in the slot, and those two dudes bring you some speed.
I think DJ Reed also has return ability too.
He does.
I think he returned for us a little bit.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that said, we got a crazy week ahead. Maybe not for the 49ers. You know, the 49ers aren't big spenders. They don't have a lot of money. They might not go crazy, but you know it's going to be a crazy NFL week. Hopefully it's Jimmy's week to be gone. If he is traded, you guys know Bubba's in Spain. I'm in Florida. Our timeline, we'll see how we could do it. But even if it's just one of us, we're going to hop on the emergency pod when Jimmy's traded. So be ready for that. Going to be a good week. Next Sunday's video is going to pop off. You know, hopefully we have some good news for you guys. And
hopefully we could talk about the new 49ers, Bobby Wagner, Chandler Jones, somebody, you know, Alex Kappa, DJ Reed, you know, hopefully we can talk about them being new Niners. So tune in for that, definitely.
And our internal guys, we'll see who stays and who leaves. You know, next week going to be a good one. And remember, now that after the next couple weeks, we're going to have a better idea of who we should bring in the draft, because You're going to start filling out those spaces. So then you're going to see what needs you still need to fill in the draft. So hopefully you guys are in for a good week. Hopefully it's a good ride. You're going to see some wild stuff go down this week. I'll be locked in on Twitter all week. This past week I was on that thing every day, like
a crackhead.
Come on,
wearing
do
out the
some.
meat on your finger.
So hopefully it's a good week. Thanks for whoever did tune into the pod. Thanks to our dad for coming on, our first live guest. We appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who tuned in for the whole pod. We appreciate you. You got any closing remarks?
Yep, just stick with us, Stick with us. We're trying to push out this content for you guys. Maybe possibly going to 2 pods a week or something. Just stick with it. We're trying to grow this thing. Every single view, every single like, comment, whatever it is, it helps us out. Like we said earlier, just keep your phones ready. Keep them ringers on, because we're gonna get news. We're at least gonna get some Niner news about restructures, extensions, but we're also gonna have a bunch of NFL news, like Joe said. So just stay ready. Stuff's gonna be moving. Stuff's gonna happen.
Yep.
Besides that, I'm good to go.
All right.
Hopefully
you guys,
next pod will be a good one. Tune in.
You guys have a good week. Hopefully we see you midweek, but if not, we'll see you next Sunday.
Shoot, we might see you guys later tonight.
Yeah, who knows? But thanks for tuning in to the Bully Ball podcast. We'll see you next week.
Peace.